Is EVE Online toxic? There seems to be an impression in social media that EVE Online is a toxic cesspool. This is especially apparent in many of the comments I get in my EVE Online videos. Here are just some examples. EVE is like being a small child walking through a park at night filled with child molesters. EVE, the game played by sociopathic accountants. EVE, explained in 10 seconds. Trust nobody in game. They all want your stuff and your life. And EVE, the griefer's paradise. Why do people get this impression about EVE compared to any other game? Is it really all that toxic? Let's break it down. Let us first establish something about the foundation of EVE. The letters in EVE, EVE, are often thought of as an acronym for everyone versus everyone, meaning that in every aspect of gameplay, and there are many different types of gameplay in EVE, competition with other players is eventually unavoidable. Now, that does not mean that there is no PvE gameplay. There certainly is, and most players in EVE would not consider themselves to be much of a PvPer. Most EVE players choose a benign profession such as mining, industry, trading, exploration, and missioning, or site hunting. The last two involve a great deal of ship-to-ship combat, but this is against NPC opponents. However, even a humble asteroid miner has to sell the ore or materials they make from their mining. To do that, they must use the entirely player-driven market, where competition is inevitable. You must constantly compete to sell your stuff at the right time, the right place, for the right price, and the correct quantity in a way that is competent enough to make some in-game money. Selling stuff in EVE is mostly done by the highly organized player-driven market, but it can also be accomplished by the contract system, which is more customizable for players with contracts. With contracts, you can sell a big package of items, fully fit and rigged starships, clear out your inventory hangar, or whatever you need to do. The final way of selling something is simply via verbal or written agreement. Someone gives you an item, in exchange you give them ISK, the in-game currency. The last two methods of transaction, the contract and the agreement, are where one of the most dreaded aspects of EVE comes into play: the scam. A common scam is to title a contract to give the impression of selling something that is very rare and of great value, and then you spam that contract in a very popular system such as the Jita Trade Hub. Man, it's a steal, you think, so you accept the contract to find that it's nothing of the sort, and there are no returns. Another common occurrence is Corp Alliance or Theft. This is where someone who has been given access to the corporation's assets abscond with all the stuff. Okay, the scams and the Corp Thefts, often coupled with betrayal, driven by a butthurt emotion or just the thrill of it all, these are the most well-known aspects of EVE that fuel its toxic reputation. Another aspect is the idea of the ganker and the griefer. A ganker destroys other ships, most often sacrificing their own ship to the NPC police force, just so that they could destroy your ship. Now, sometimes this is a highly strategic operation done for financial gain, especially if you're carrying billions of ISK in your cargo hold. But a far more toxic motivation is to simply cause drama and feed off of it. A griefer is someone who simply trolls weaker players through war decks and other PvP means. I must also point out here that ganking and griefing are very distinct from other forms of PvP, such as war, duels, fights over resources, or even piracy. I find that PvP in general, although sometimes toxic, is more often the realm of mutual respect among worthy opponents. Arguably the most influential fuel for EVE's toxic reputation is tribalism within the game. This simply means player groups who feel they are better than their rivals, or anyone else for that matter. They will go at great lengths to troll or humiliate others because they are the group that counts. This mostly occurs with very large groups such as nullsec alliances, often consisting of tens of thousands of players. The large groups have a kind of culture and gameplay style that varies amongst them. But personally, I'm not a nullseeker, so I find a lot of these groups are very much the same from my perspective, but they would be insulted if you dared to compare them. EvE is a highly social game. Some people revel in all of these things that contribute to toxic reputation and are hopelessly addicted to it. But here's the deal. EvE is no more toxic than any other highly competitive game. I'll say it again. EvE is no more toxic than any other highly competitive game. It is not true that you can't trust other players in the game. For every person that wants to take your stuff, there are probably 10 that want to help you, especially for newer players who may not have anything at all. I've also formed online friendships in EvE that are stronger and have lasted longer than in any other gaming community. These are people that will have your back in game, or possibly even in real life. Hell, there are entire alliances committed to helping newer players learn the game and avoid a lot of the pitfalls. For the most part, the average player, by simply being aware of these aspects of gameplay, can avoid most of this toxicity at best, and at worst learn from the situation when it happens. What exacerbates toxicity is a victim mentality. Basically, if you consider yourself a victim, then you are, especially within the setting of a video game. If you want, you can do all kinds of things to try to get justice or revenge on the ones who wronged you, or to repair what you think is your ruined reputation for being stupid enough to fall for something, but you will find this is mostly a waste of time, and can often lead to an even worse situation. The more you whine about a situation, the bigger the target you paint on your back. Someone once told me, if everything goes right, then you have no story to tell and nothing interesting to talk about. This is very true of EvE and of real life in general. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please say in the comments if you think EvE is more or less toxic than most other competitive games, and if you disagree, feel free to say so. Until next time, space friends,